Hey, so I want to answer a question today that I get frequently. And the question is around how do you mix Agile and Waterfall and these traditional project management methods and this Agile project management approach. And they seem like oil and water, and you know, they kind of are. But I want to talk with you for a second about an easy way to flip the switch in your mind and think about it a little bit differently. And that is to think of Agile project management, out here as delivering a product or service that is a unique product or service with a defined beginning and a defined end, right? That's the PMI definition of the classic project management, right? Project has a defined beginning and a defined end. And project management is the approach that we take to deliver that deliverable, right? We've defined the scope, schedule, and budget, and that's what we want to deliver. Project management is about managing that process, but it doesn't really tell you anything about how you deliver that. And inside of that, you can deliver it in any number of ways. And what I want to propose to you is that Agile can be used inside this model as a delivery approach within here. You have to change your thinking a little bit to make that work, but really, you can. Even when you're starting an Agile project, the same kind of phases apply, right? Where you're initiating, you're defining, and then you're managing the actual delivery, and then you're closing, right? And all through that process, you're controlling. This is PMI stuff. Controlling is such a weird word. People get freaked out about it, but it just means you're making sure that things that you don't expect to happen don't happen. At any rate, in an Agile, if you're going to use Agile to deliver this, it really is, it's amazing what you can get done with it, because you can accelerate this delivery process, because what normally takes, you define, the definition part of a project is really pretty short, typically. It's like a month normally on a big project. Okay, when I talk about projects, I talk about something that's 6 months or longer, at least. So maybe a month. Let's talk about a 6-month project. Okay, so a month is spent, 6 months, I might spend half a month on the definition beginning part of it. And in a traditional project management, you would spend a couple of months defining all the requirements and getting those laid out as detailed as you can. Okay, and this is the approach. And then you would build it, and then you would test it, and then you would deploy it. Okay. Several things are wrong with that model. For example, in particular, when you're developing software, for starters, you can't define all the things up front. You don't know what they are, and the business changes too fast. And the end part of it is the biggest problem. The testing at the end, hello? If you find a problem, what do you do then? You have to go back and fix it. So let's not get into a theological discussion about the differences between Agile and Waterfall, but what I want you to do is I still want to see a project that still delivers within this model, but what we're going to do is we're going to scrunch up those first two, and instead of spending a lot of time defining deliverables, we're going to build a backlog. It's the same thing. Okay, say it with me. Build a backlog. Build the backlog, Joseph. Okay, so if you build the backlog, you are defining the requirements for the project. And then you start working. So what was a 3-month process, right? A little bit here and then 2 months to define the requirements, now becomes a 2-week process. You write a vision document instead of defining a scope. They're really close to each other, but a vision document is just shorter. A page or two. Boy, if you get to 3 pages, you're writing a novel at that point from an Agile perspective. You write a quick vision, you define the story cards that you're going to start with, and then you start to build, and you build out your iterations. And while you're going through, you're testing. So that at any point during here, you can stop if you've delivered enough, or you just know that the fact is, I've tested everything up to this point, and so I'm not going to run into some huge bug at the end that I don't know how to fix, and it's going to delay the whole project. That's the key right there. you want the money? That's the money in this, in what Agile brings to the table. The money Agile brings to the table is you're testing all along so that there's nothing at the end of the project that kills you. That's it. That's the biggie. So look, now you've got this project, and you've scrunched up the beginning 2 pieces of it. Now you're delivering. The end of it is, yeah, you do some deployment testing, but it's quick. It's very, very quick. And what used to take 6 weeks takes 3 days, right? Literally. I've seen this happen, right? I have folks that do user testing at the end, and they're traditionally used to 6 weeks of time, and we do it, well, one of them we did in like 15 minutes. No joke. We had automated testing running. We had already run these tests 1,000,000 times already. They got it. They were able to look at it and go, this is the test result we got. This is what we expected. We've already tested it before. Yeah, it's still the same. Okay. This is the official test. Done. So that's how you can use, within a traditional project, the Agile delivery method. Now, within traditional project management software, we can do another podcast and talk about that, but from a really simple perspective, set up tasks in your execution phase that are for each major deliverable. So in my projects that are big, I usually have multiple releases. This is an Agile approach. Agile uses release planning, and we'll talk about how to do Agile release planning on a large scale and the different phases that you can do to talk about how they do release planning. But just from a very simple high level, set up your project plan with the high level task being the release. Don't get into more detail. Don't get down in there. Look, nobody cares that your project plan is beautiful, right? What they want from a project plan is to know that I'm going to hit the end date. And really, it's hard to communicate with people who are entrenched in project plan land if you don't have a project plan. So I've had to do this for folks. I just did one actually in the past 2 weeks for a very large Agile project where we're using an Agile project management online tool to manage our backlog and sprints and everything. But I have to create a Microsoft project plan that makes sense to my sponsorship so they can understand what's going on. And it's cool. I mean, that's great. And personally, I kind of like it too, because it gives me a different view. That's not the burn up and of features and burn down within a sprint, but it's kind of a bigger level picture that shows me I'm going to hit these big deliverables. So set a task for each one of your major releases, and then you can set a task for, we have some required federal testing that we have to do, so there's those kinds of things. So you can set those things out there, but the main pieces of your project plan are those release deliverables, not individual tasks. Okay? So I hope that made sense. If not, shoot me an email and I'll do another podcast to clarify, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye-bye.